Cool. Can you all hear me? Sweet. All right, awesome. Well, my name's Zach, and I'm the founder of Hack Club. Thank you all so much for having us here today. My journey with Linux started when I was 12 in 7th grade and went to Ubuntu.com and installed Ubuntu without permission on the family computer, and had to use terminal to solve basic problems. And it totally changed my relationship with computing because suddenly I was a creator instead of a consumer. And I've been wanting to make things for so long, and Ubuntu was really the thing that pushed it over the edge. And I started by forcing myself to use Linux as the main operating system for a month. That turned into an Arch Linux installation over time, and found this incredible community of people from all over the world who were making things, sharing it for free, inspiring each other, but most importantly, going to the events and meeting people in person. They were incredibly kind people. So before I'm going to talk about Hack Club and what we do, and we're a charity and some of the different programs that we run. I also have a Hack Clubber with me who will come on in a few stage, who's with us. I don't know if my clicker's working. But before I do, I just wanted to start with just a little bit of context, which is I think as software engineers, we tend to take open source for granted. It feels like, oh, software is free. The cost of duplication is zero. Information wants to be free. It makes sense. It's going to be copied and shared and given away all over the world for free. But you don't have to look far to find what different realities could have been. I mean, you look at mechanical engineering, where your CAD files are also files on a computer that can be shared for free. And there is no good open source CAD software. There is no agreed upon version control. The type of community is not the same. It is so much harder to get started. And Autodesk has completely locked it down. You look at electrical engineering. I mean, thank God for KiCad, but very similarly, coding could have been that. And the reason why it's not is because a radical group of individuals, 30 plus years ago, had a radical vision for what the world could be, and then they worked tirelessly to make that vision reality. And it's because so many of you work tirelessly to continue that vision and continue giving away software for free. But coding's changing. With AI, the way we write code is changing. If you go to a Hack Club event today, there's no longer Google Open. It's all ChatGPT. Every single person uses Copilot or Cursor, stuff like this. And when you look at the open source models, they're not really open source in the same way. The weights are public, but the training data is not. And the code used to train is not. And there's you can't really upload your AI stuff to GitHub in the same way you can upload your code. So as software changes, I think we're at risk of losing what has helped make this such an incredible thing for so many people. So a little bit of background. Hack Club is a charity. We help high school students get into open source. We serve people ages 13 to 18. We're all about real projects. So teenagers in Hack Club build real projects with real friends, both online and in person. Hack Club in its best form is a friendship factory. We don't have curriculum. We don't have teachers. We don't work with schools. The thing that we try and do above all else is help two teenagers that don't know each other meet each other and become friends. Because as a young person, most of the friendships that you have are friendships of circumstance. You happen to sit next to each other in class, or you happen to grow up in the same zip code. That's not a very deep connection. But when you meet someone else and you bond over a shared interest, now you have a hacker friend. And that friendship is motivated by building things. And the way you advance that friendship is through building projects together. And then finally, we're a big tent organization. So we have a very low floor. Every year there are thousands of students that write their first line of code in Hack Club, but we have a very high ceiling. In Hack Club, no matter how far you go, you're going to find someone else your age who's 6 months ahead of you. And there are people in Hack Club who've made contributions to Linux kernel and have built things that have millions of users. And they're helping people who are 6 months before them. One of the things that makes Hack Club really unique and special is that in most learner spaces, the advanced people are separated from the beginners. And in Hack Club, they're all in one room together, all helping each other. Hack Club, we're North America based, but we serve students all over the world. In our big summer initiative that we ran this past summer, we had 19,000 students sign up, and we had students in 119 countries participate. Historically, we've mostly been pretty US oriented. This past summer, we started being more intentional about Europe. We had so many students get involved. And one of the super cool things about Hack Club is you meet other teenagers who are just like you, who happen to be from a totally different background, totally different part of the world, totally different economic situation. But again, because they're a hacker friend, it's a motivated friendship. And it's something where you get closer through building things together. So I want all of you to meet some Hack Clubbers. And I want to show a 9-minute video from our big hackathon we did this past summer. This event that I'm about to show you was organized by an 18-year-old Hack Clubber named Dave. One thing I'll share more about is everything in Hack Club is built by students for students, including this epic collaboration. And you're going to see like a train chartered across North America in partnership with the Canadian government, and that entire partnership, everything was ran by an 18-year-old. So I want to share that, and in this video, you'll see Cheru, who's a Hack Clubber who's backstage right now, who will come out and share some of the open source work that they're doing at Hack Club. So with that, let's get started.
Across the Boreal of Canada, far away from factories and cars, riding the train through the forest and plains, under the moonbeams and stars. Stars. Beneath the beauty, a danger remains, with nature in the clutches of climate change.
This is our time.
It changed quickly Monday night. Strong winds pushed fires from the outskirts of Jasper to within a few kilometers of town.
The town of Jasper and the national park now under an evacuation order.
About 25,000 people drove for hours through darkness in bumper-to-bumper traffic on the only highway out.
So I just woke up, and the people outside were talking about how we're going backwards right now because they're evacuating Jasper, which is our next stop. So we're going back to Vancouver.
We came across this one stretch where the entire hillside was just engulfed in flame. It looked like I was staring directly into like hell.
Really, at the end of the day, what makes a great Hack Club event? It's three things. It's the friends you meet, it's the projects you build together, and it's the adventures that you go on. And if anything, like we can do all three of those things in an even deeper way than we could before. You know, like we now feel the reality of what we're talking about in a much deeper way than when we first talked about it opening ceremony.
I've been making a plant monitoring system, so you can monitor the water levels in the soil of plants, and it will send you an alert if the plant needs watering or if you're overwatering, and it can tell you about the overall health of the plant. So to do this, I've been designing a circuit board. Over here, we have a microcontroller. We also have some programming ports for it and some indicator LED. We have an oscillator for the microcontroller too. We have a temperature sensor. It's also a humidity and pressure sensor. And we have a LoRa module that can be used to alert people when your plant needs watering.
It's sad that it couldn't be what it otherwise could have been because of the wildfire, but I'm glad to be here anyways.
The creeper trying to steal our stuff. Help him out, help him out.
we're about to take a bus to go visit Linus Texas.
Seeing the real habitat loss happen in front of me, like through the train, like the wildfires burning down all the forests, like I was thinking the work that colleges are doing is really important, so more forms of awareness, how that's really important. So essentially the user should be able to choose their setting, choose their species, and various other factors that goes into like a real ecosystem, and then based on that I want to like display calculations for like various ecosystem parameters. So for example, like quality, which takes into account like biodiversity and ecosystem resilience.
It's working! Yay!
News broke about an hour ago that the fires have reached the town itself. If you look at the news, I mean, it's so tragic. There's like buildings on fire. As far as we know, like people are safe, but this is just one example of one of the greatest crises that our generation faces. Every person in this room is gonna have some sort of role. Before we kind of get off to all the fun stuff, we could just take like 1 minute, close your eyes, send good thoughts to all the people who are like actively being affected by this, and just have a moment to like all reflect.
And I think every single person on the train really felt climate change and really felt the effects of what we're doing to our surroundings and to our environment.
We all pulled an all-nighter to finish our projects. So yeah, we have to demo in 2 hours and 30 minutes, so hopefully it all goes well.
So we implemented the GPT algorithm entirely from scratch, and then we had to collect a massive data set. We had to work on all the infrastructure to like load this data, the model architecture. Eventually we had it learn some basic structure of human language, which is really cool.
There's a lot more connecting and interacting with people. After the scenery kind of stopped, we kind of had to look more inward into the train and at each other. Definitely this hackathon, we're a lot closer together, both physically and like emotionally.
Always heard about wildfires around me in BC, in Kamloops, etc. And I was never really moved by it. It was just a story in the background. And suddenly when we were on the train and we could see the wildfires right beside us, it was really, really like moving. So I downloaded a data set of about 1.8 million wildfires in the US. And I used Duck.gl and Mapbox to plot them every year. So here you can see what is the reason the wildfire happened, and you can play to see how it changes from year to year. And my goal was, one, to visualize the past, and two, to see what we can do in the future. So based on all this data, I trained a random forest model to basically predict how big a wildfire would be at a specific place. This gives an interesting insight to like how climate change is getting worse over time, and also helps us, look ahead to the future.
This is our time, we're hacking together. Nothing's gonna stop us now. You had your time, now we can do better. All aboard will show you how. 'Cause don't it always seem as though we don't know what we've got till it's gone. It seems so clear to me. Young minds and technology and nature are all we need. This is our time. It's time we work together.
So that's some hack clovers in action. And that event was just one of dozens of events we host every year all around the world to get teenagers building projects with other people their age in person. We have an upcoming game jam called Counterspell that's happening in 50 cities simultaneously in November. Up on the upper right, 30 hack clubbers went on the Pacific Crest Trail in California on a 7-day through hike. None of them had been backpacking before, and they made their own radios from scratch and even made their own PCBs for that. On the bottom left, there's an awesome hackathon that happened in Boston earlier this year, and we do a ton of hackathons to help young women get into technology that are led by young women in Hack Club for other young women in Hack Club. Big picture, when we think about okay, what does successful open source education for young people look like? It's student-led. There's a leadership component to it. It's peer-to-peer. We run a massive online Slack community with over 4 million messages sent in it each year. And then young people need resources, particularly access to hardware. Many young people don't have fast laptops, and they don't have access to materials to learn how to do hardware projects. So we run these grants where you put challenges out to teenagers, and when they complete that challenge, they then get resources from Hack Club to take their work to the next level. And with that, I'd love to welcome Cheru onto the stage. Could we give Cheru a round of applause? Cheru's a 17-year-old on the Hack Club team. And is one of the engineers behind Sprig. Do you want to tell us about Sprig?
Sure. So yeah, Sprig is this kind of a lot of things. It's a game console, it's a game editor, and it's a game engine we made to get beginners into making games and coding. So we created this game engine, and we have this GitHub repository where anyone can submit a game if you're a teenager. So there's 700 games people have submitted, and the idea is if you're a teenager, you make your first game, and then we'll send you one of these consoles. So we designed, how does this work?
Yeah, here, I got it right here.
Okay.
Do you want to?
Yeah. This game console from scratch that we'll send to you, and it's also a hardware development kit. So you put it together, and then you can also hack on it to go further in tech after you've made your first game. And I'd like to show you some games that people have made. These were all made last month, actually. This one was made by a 17-year-old in Switzerland. It's just one of those phone games where you connect dots to fill a grid. This is actually, I learned today, this was made by an 11-year-old, which is kind of crazy, in Alberta in Canada. And it's a game in which you control a spaceship to navigate obstacles. And this one's one where you have to, this gets progressively harder, or faster and harder. And you have to, yeah, you have to navigate a board and collect points while avoiding this cat that moves around. And these were all built by teenagers who submitted to our gallery. And then after they submitted, we sent them one of these consoles, which will run your game.
Let me flip you back over.
Yes. So this is that first game I showed. If it'll load. And this console was also made by teenagers. So the PCB was designed by a 15-year-old Hugo in New York. The firmware I'm working on right now, it was started by a 17-year-old in rural Virginia. And we give this game console, and they play games, but they also hack on it. Since it's all open source, you can hack on the firmware and the hardware. This is Gabe, and he made Sprig into a controller for a drawing robot, which is another one of our programs. And he wrote this firmware from scratch using MicroPython. So, yeah.
Awesome. Let's go chair a round of applause. Just a couple other Hack Club projects I just want to show all of you, because the best part of Hack Club is that teenagers in Hack Club build the most incredible projects. So if you, in your browser, if you go to cpu.land, L-A-N-D, Lexi, who was 17 when she wrote this and published it last year, wrote this incredible deep dive book into how CPUs work, with, of course, the best stick figure drawings on the planet. Lexi, it's 16,000 words. Lexi launched this on Hacker News last year. It got 1,337 upvotes, which I feel like is just destiny. And over 500,000 people have read it. Every week, on average, over 2,000 people check out CPU Land, and it's like even been linked in like popular video tutorials on YouTube to learn how CPUs work. And she was 17 when she made this, and she like was mentoring other teenagers in the Hack Club Slack. She was getting feedback from other teens as she was working on it. I mean, just totally incredible. Charlie, who you briefly met in the video I showed earlier, he was working the plant monitor. This is Charlie. He's 14. Charlie is like obsessed with PCB design and spent this summer making Stratosaur Mark III, which is a drone built and designed from scratch. This is his printed circuit board. He designed in KiCad. I believe it's a 4-layer board, which is crazy. Has gone through many iterations, is like doing microsoldering in his bedroom to like get it working. Actually built the drone this summer and launched it from a weather balloon. I can't remember if it was at 5,000 or 10,000 feet. And you can give it a Latin long, and it will navigate itself to like whatever destination you give it. And like that's what Charlie worked on this summer in Hack Club. Louisa is a 16-year-old from Kenya. She lives in Nairobi. This is Louisa. She's amazing. Earlier, I was showing in that video that was like in the upper right corner. She was one of the people who went on the trail, this the 7-day through hike where teenagers built their own equipment. Have any of you seen the Pico 8 before? It's like a fun little fantasy console. She is writing, I believe, a Chip 16, which is a Pico 8 variant emulator to learn how to write emulators from scratch right now, and she's posting daily updates. This image is an assignment from her robotics club, but you can see like she's posting her emulator, she's getting feedback from other hack clubbers. It's like very social. Zahir, who's 17 from the United Kingdom, spent his summer writing an operating system from scratch. It was this, and it's actually, I believe it's actually bootable with like a bootloader written too. And this was the first time he like really took a stab at doing low-level programming and like invested like almost 200 hours into this thing. We do, everything at Hack Club is always peer motivated. So we do like these peer, judge is a strong word, but like peer voted project celebrations. And Zahir was the most voted this summer as people dug into the project. I mean, it's just totally crazy. Oh, it's my, I think it'll pop back in. There you go. Annabelle is a 16-year-old from Australia. She is amazing. One of the things she did this summer was she wrote a terminal website as her new homepage. It's pretty sweet. Not only are there different commands, she even wrote her own like NeoFetch alternative. And then she deployed it on hackclub.app, which is a tilde server that's designed and built by hack clubbers. Like one of the challenges a lot of teenagers run into is it's very easy to find free front-end hosting. There is like no free back-end hosting available anymore. Like they used to use Heroku, but like that they've shut down their free plan. So hack clubbers have rented like do you know how much RAM is in it?
Like 96 gigabytes?
Yeah, like a 96 gigabyte RAM dedicated server from Hetzner for like $60 a month, and they set up a shared Linux installation, and there's like hundreds of users on it where hack clubbers are like learning Linux, deploying their services. They're using systemd to like keep their things running in the background. So Annabelle deployed this site there. And then with the grant challenges I mentioned, these are the You Ship, We Ship grants we run. Where we put out these project challenges out to teenagers and say, hey, if you build X, Hack Club will give you resources to do Y. The reason why we do this is because we've noticed that by far the most effective thing to help a young person who's like kind of on the edge and trying to get started with making code and writing projects is help them build something they're proud of. And somehow, like, I mean, as all of us know, if you want to be a developer, probably the thing that matters more than anything else is actually making things. And yet somehow in most computing classes, that's not prioritized. And it's for young people who are teenagers, they're super busy, and it's definitely not prioritized by many of their parents, and definitely not by the college admissions process. So Hack Club is trying to create a space and a system of incentives where if you spend your free time coding projects, you just get hugged with support. Not only with peers that you look up to who are like, you're awesome, that's awesome what you just did, but like with actual tangible resources you can use to take your work to the next level. So with Boba Drops, this is a beginner-oriented one. If you're a teenager and you design a website from scratch and actually host it on GitHub Pages or any other Git host, we will buy you bubble tea from your local boba shop, because that is an essential coding tool you need. Onboard is a PCB grants program. We actually collaborated with Steve Wozniak from Apple on this, where if you're a teenager, you're age 18 or under anywhere in the world, if you design a printed circuit board from scratch and publish it open source, and you have to use a piece of open source software to do it, like KiCad, we will give you a $100 grant to actually get your printed circuit board manufactured. We funded over 600 teenagers, almost all of whom are making printed circuit boards for the first time, and that's enough for like 2 to 4 design iterations of most board types. HackPad is super cool and just launched. This is our first multidisciplinary grant, where if you're a teenager and you design a circuit board, use CAD to design your case for it, and then code the firmware, I think it's in QMK most people are using, to build your own macro pad or mini mechanical keyboard, we will then send all the parts that you need to actually build it in real life, including getting your board manufactured. We'll send you the keycaps and the switches and everything so you can actually have a real product that you've designed from scratch that's like on your desk that you made. This is another one of these programs. It's called Retrospect. How many of you got started programming DOS? So a lot of hack clubbers love what they call retro computing. With Retrospect, if you're a teenager, the framing is programming is too easy today. You want to learn what it was like back when it was harder to program. If you make a game in DOS, we will install the game on a bootable floppy disk and mail it to you. And there's some amazing things teenagers have built. But this is just one person. One tradition at Hack Club is anytime we do anything that's 2D, instantly at Hack Club it's a 3D version of it. Like the first project for Retrospect was a 3D rasterizer in DOS, which is like crazy. But that's all. That's Hack Club. These are just a few programs of the many we run. We're a small operation. We're a small team. And really, like, all of us have had our lives like very positively changed by open source and by coding and by making things and like finding this path. The thing for me about software is like it's high agency. As a young person, it's hard. Like you're asking yourself the why questions. Who am I? What is this world I live in? What is my relationship with it? And it's very challenging to find a good source of support where you can feel like you can take control over your own life. And one of the beautiful things about code, and specifically open source, is that you don't need to ask anyone for permission. It's a form of self-expression that you can learn that will give you agency and control over your own life. And it's something that you can take control of today. Like if you probably have a computer at home, you don't need a lot of resources, and it's something that's highly social you can do with other people now. One of the reasons why we're excited to be here is that many of you are the heroes of hack clubbers. Like you work on open source software that they use every day. An ask to all of you is that if you make a piece of open source software or you know someone who does, please help connect them with us. We run Zoom sessions with hack clubbers where they talk with people that make software that they use. They're really inspiring. It's an hour-long commitment. One of the biggest challenges hack clubbers run into is finding venues for their events. If you happen to work at a company that has an office they could use as a venue, we have hack clubbers in 119 countries trying to organize hackathons right now. If you know anyone that would care about this, wants to support the work, we're all donation funded, please help us get connected. But most importantly, the #1 piece of feedback we get when we ask hack clubbers is that they wish they knew about Hack Club earlier. Many teenagers find out about us when they're 17, and they only have one more year before they're not eligible anymore, because we're only 13 to 18. So any teenagers you know in your life, please help share Hack Club with them. Please help spread the good word, and please help us reach more young folks. Thank you all so much, and thanks for having us. It's really an honor to be here with all of you.
Thank you both. Don't run away yet. Let's see if we have any questions from the audience. We have the mics to the left, to the right. I do have a question, meanwhile. How can we bring hack clubs to our town or to our city, to our country?
You got to tell students about it. So the way Hack Club works is it's all student-led. And what that means is that the step to bring Hack Club into your city is that a student in that city needs to come to us saying, I want to start Hack Club here. So find a 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old who's interested in this stuff, help them find Hack Club, and then they can be the leader in your town or in your city.
I like this approach. but also apparently it's too late for me to bring Hack Club to my town. We have another question, I see.
Yeah, so all of us know that we deal with burnout all the time as adults, but I imagine when you're in, kind of a transitioning period of your life, it's even more intense. How do you kind of address that?
Sure, do you want to take that?
Sure. Mostly it's like people are burned out because of stress, because of like external pressures, etc. Hack Club makes a big effort to like puts in a big effort to make coding something that people want to do and do for fun. So people aren't pressured externally by like, I need to get a job, I need to finish this assignment. So actually, like, Hack Club is a lot of times an outlet for burnout or stress. So,
makes sense. Thank you.
I guess that's my take.
I think we are running out of time. Thank you very much for the presentation. I hope we can inspire some students to bring Hack Club to their cities or towns, I would say.
Yeah, help spread the word. We have the best stickers on the planet. Come to our booth. We will definitely give you some. And really, thank you all again so much for having us. Take care.